What are the supremum and infimum of a set? That's what we'll be going over in today's Wrath of Math lesson. These are very important concepts in analysis, so I'll do my best to make them crystal clear to you today. We'll take a quick look at the definitions, and then we'll get into some examples to help clarify what they mean. Quickly, first, let me just offer you these three-word explanations of what the supremum and infimum are. They really do get the point across effectively. The supremum of a set is the least upper bound of the set if it exists. A set may have many upper bounds. Among all upper bounds, the least upper bound, the smallest one, is the supremum. Similarly, the infimum of a set, if it exists, is the greatest lower bound. A set may have many lower bounds. Among all of them, the greatest one is the infimum of the set. Now let's read the definition of supremum. Let F be an ordered field and S be a non-empty subset of that ordered field. If ordered field doesn't really mean much to you, just read this as let F be the set of real numbers. That's often the ordered field that we're most interested in. Then, the supremum of S, that non-empty subset of the ordered field, the supremum of S, if it exists, is some B0 from the ordered field, such that 1, B0 is an upper bound of S, and 2, if B is any other upper bound of S, then B0, the supremum, is less than or equal to B, that other upper bound. That should make sense because the supremum is the least upper bound. So if B0 is the supremum and B is any other upper bound, B0 must be less than or equal to that other upper bound B. If the supremum of S exists, it's denoted like this, sup of S. For a visual representation of what we're talking about, suppose this down here is the real number line, and maybe this orange part S is a subset of the real numbers. Then, certainly, this number here is an upper bound of S. Every element of S is less than or equal to this number up here. However, it's not the least upper bound, so it's not the supremum. There are upper bounds much less than this one represented by this orange line. We could get a lot closer to S, say right there. That is what the least upper bound might look like visually, and so that is a representation of the supremum of S, the least upper bound. We've got all these other upper bounds up here, but that's the smallest one. Alright, now for the infimum. Let F be an ordered field and S be a non-empty subset of that ordered field. Again, you can just think of S as the real numbers if you want. The infimum of S, if it exists, is some B0 from the ordered field or from the real numbers that satisfies two conditions. 1, B0 is a lower bound of S, and 2, if B is any other lower bound of S, then B0, the infimum, is greater than or equal to that other lower bound B. Again, that should make sense because B, the infimum, is the greatest lower bound. So if we've got any other lower bound, B, then the infimum, B0, must be greater than or equal to that other lower bound. So if the infimum of S exists, it's denoted like that, inf of S. Let's again represent that visually with this number line. Certainly, this number back here is a lower bound of the set S. Every element of S is greater than or equal to this number back here. However, it's not the greatest lower bound, so it's not the infimum of S. The greatest lower bound would look something like that. Of all lower bounds, this is the greatest one, and so visually, that's a representation of the infimum of S. Notice these definitions don't explicitly state the supremum and infimum of a set are unique, but it turns out they are, and I'll leave a link to a proof of that in the description. Remember these three-word descriptions and you should be good to go. The supremum of a set, if it exists, is the least of all upper bounds. The infimum of a set, if it exists, is the greatest of all lower bounds. One last thing to point out before we move on, note that both the infimum and supremum, they do not have to belong to the set S. They just have to belong to that ordered field F that S is a subset of. So the supremum and infimum of a set may or may not actually belong to the set. There are examples of both. Additionally, we could consider a set to be a subset of many other sets. For example, the natural numbers are a subset of the integers. However, the natural numbers are also a subset of the real numbers. So, the ordered field under consideration in a given problem can change whether or not the subset S will or will not have a supremum and infimum. That's an important technicality of the definition, but of course, for many of you, the ordered field you're considering will probably be the real numbers. But let's get into the examples, and we'll see an instance of where the ordered field chosen does matter right near the end. Alright, let's get into it. Here is the set of natural numbers. Does this set have a supremum? Well, no, it doesn't, because remember, the supremum is the least upper bound, if it exists. The natural numbers have no upper bound. You could give me any natural number, say 10 to the power of 6, and I could guarantee you, well, that's not an upper bound of the naturals, because 10 to the 6 plus 1 is also a bigger natural number. So the supremum of the naturals does not exist. What about the infimum? Remember that the infimum is the greatest lower bound. Certainly 0 is a lower bound of the naturals. 0 is less than or equal to n for every n in the natural numbers. However, 0 is not the infimum of the natural numbers because it's not the greatest lower bound. 1 is also a lower bound of the naturals because it is less than or equal to n for every n in the naturals too. And so we can certainly include that the infimum of the natural numbers, inf of the naturals, is equal to 1. Any number bigger than 1 would not be a lower bound of the naturals because 1 would be less than it. So certainly the infimum of the naturals is 1. And note, for this example, it doesn't matter whether we're considering the naturals to be a subset of the ordered field of rationals, or if we're considering the naturals to be a subset of the ordered field of real numbers. Either way, it doesn't have a supremum, and it does have an infimum. 1 is both a rational number and a real number, so we're good to go either way. Alright, next example. How about the real numbers? Of course, the real numbers are a subset of themselves, so we might consider the real numbers to be the subset and the broader ordered field under consideration here. But certainly, neither the infimum nor the supremum of the real numbers exists. The infimum is the greatest lower bound. The real numbers have no lower bound. The supremum is the least upper bound. The real numbers have no upper bound. The reals are an unbounded set below and above, so the reals have no infimum and no supremum. Alright, second to last example, got some set builder notation going on here. This is the set of all numbers 1 over n, where n is a natural. The set looks something like this: 1 over 1, 1 over 2, 1 over 3, and so on. You may quickly notice that the biggest number in this set is 1 over 1, which is just 1. The numbers just keep getting smaller after that. So 1 is an upper bound of this set. Is it the least upper bound? Is it the supremum? Yes, it certainly is. If we consider any number smaller than 1, it wouldn't be an upper bound because 1 is in the set. So you can't get an upper bound smaller than 1. So 1 is the least upper bound. Thus, the supremum, sup, of this set, I'll just paste it into our sup function, sup of this set is equal to 1. It is the least upper bound. Alright, now how about the infimum of this set? Does the infimum exist? Well, certainly the elements of this set are just getting smaller and smaller for larger values of n. However, they never get negative. In fact, what they do is get closer and closer to 0. We know that 0 is a lower bound of this set because 0 is less than or equal to the reciprocal of every natural number. And certainly, if we consider any number, say epsilon, greater than 0, we would be able to find an n big enough so that 1 over n is less than epsilon, and thus epsilon wouldn't be a lower bound. So of all lower bounds, 0 is certainly the greatest one, and is thus the infimum. So the infimum of this set is 0. And don't worry if you didn't understand that fully. I'm not trying to give you rigorous proofs of these results, just rough explanations, and we'll go over some more rigorous proofs of this sort of thing in future lessons. It's just important that you have a feel for why 0 is the infimum of this set. Notice, in this example, the supremum of the set is in the set, whereas the infimum of the set is not in the set. Alright, now we've got our last, most interesting example. This is the set of all rational numbers whose square is less than 2. And for now, let's consider this set to be a subset taken from the ordered field of the real numbers. We know that all elements x from this set satisfy this inequality. Their square, x squared, is less than 2. This means that the absolute value of x has to be less than the square root of 2. Remember that x squared and negative x squared are both equal to x squared, which is why we have to involve the absolute value bars here. In a previous lesson, which I'll leave a link to in the description, we showed that an inequality like this implies the following: that x must be less than the square root of 2 and must be greater than negative square root of 2. So clearly, negative square root of 2 is a lower bound on the elements of our set, and positive square root of 2 is an upper bound on the elements of our set. Then, since x can be any positive number less than the square root of 2, we could conclude that the supremum of our set is the square root of 2. Similarly, since x can be any negative number greater than negative square root of 2, we may conclude that the greatest lower bound, the infimum, of our set is negative square root of 2. But remember, the supremum and infimum of a set have to be elements of the ordered field that we took the set from. Going back to our definition, remember, we take a set S from the ordered field, and the supremum has to be in that ordered field. We take a set S from an ordered field, the infimum has to be in the ordered field. For our final example, this seems totally fine. The square root of 2 is an element of the real numbers. Negative square root of 2 is also an element of the real numbers. So then all I want to point out is that we could have taken this set to be a subset not of the real numbers, but of the rational numbers. The rationals are also an ordered field that this is a subset of. However, in this case, the set has no supremum and it has no infimum because neither the square root of 2 nor negative square root of 2 are elements of the rational numbers. Because, of course, the square root of 2 is irrational. And so, for further reading, if you're not already familiar with it, I recommend looking up the completeness axiom. In a nutshell, if we consider a set containing all rational numbers, but also guaranteeing the existence of infima and suprema of all bounded subsets, that is the completeness axiom. It completes the rationals to get us to the real numbers. And once I do a lesson on the completeness axiom, I'll try to remember to leave a link to it down in the description. So I hope this video helped you understand what the supremum and infimum of a set are. Remember, the supremum, if it exists, is the least upper bound. The infimum, if it exists, is the greatest lower bound. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, need anything clarified, or have any other video requests. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and be sure to subscribe for the swankiest math lessons on the internet.